Comedy actress Elaine C Smith has enjoyed a long and successful career on stage and screen. She's stayed true to her roots and remained in her beloved Glasgow. Next month she'll be presented with the Freedom of the City. I sat down with her at the Stand Comedy Club. Elaine, thanks so much for joining us.
Pleasure.
You have never been so popular. You're clearly really busy. What drives you?
I suppose the older you get, the luckier you feel to just be able to do it, particularly and not to be too down about it. You know, I've lost a few people along the way in my business and in life far too early. So the older I get, the more appreciative I am of still being able to do it, of still being able to. I've just done 71 performances at the King's Glasgow in Panto, and so you feel very thankful. That drives me, but also if you feel that the work is good and you entertain people and you make people happy, I think that's part of my DNA. I think psychologically, if you were to evaluate it, the people-pleasing nature of me and wanting to, that was what was in there from a child, that I wanted to make everything all right for everybody else. That is carried on.
A lot of talent in Scotland feel they have to go down south. You've stayed in Scotland. You believe that you don't have to leave to achieve.
Yeah, I have always, there was always a cringe factor almost that if you didn't leave and go to London, then you weren't any good. But I was also really lucky, because Colin Gilbert set up the comedy unit in Glasgow in BBC. And he had this belief that if all the zoological programmes would be made in Bristol, why couldn't comedy programmes in a city famous for its comedy be made there? And he started with Kick Up the 80s, I think. And then I did, he saw me with Wildcat and cast me in a show called Laugh, I Nearly Paid My Licence Fee with Robbie Coltrane, John Sessions, Tracy Ullman, and I just did a couple of sketches in it, and that really, well, Tracy Ullman was Kick Up the 80s actually, and but a fantastic cast of people.
So you never felt you had to go to
London?
I
never felt.
But there is this snobbery about it, isn't there?
It's incredible. There's still writers. I remember a very famous writer from Scotland, who I won't name, say, well, you can't really call yourself an actor unless you've been on stage in London. And I was like, well, what does that make me, you know? And I've never seen anything wrong with living and working in your own country and entertaining people in your own country. What, are they a lesser audience because they're here? And the irony now being, you know, all these years later, I go to London and I was at a thing, Dawn French was doing Panto a couple of years ago, and she said to me, oh, the Queen is here. So now I view Dawn as sort of that, but and going, when I did Calendar Girls in London, and suddenly realising, well, I had this big chip on my shoulder that, oh, I might not be good enough. They all know each other. And I realised I was as good as, better than, or worse than sometimes than us, but I deserved to be there. And I wasn't lesser because I'd made a career in my own country. Nobody says to Swedes, oh, you're not very famous in Norway, well, so you can't be any good, you know. So I've always had that. Now, that is not to say I haven't. I loved working in London. I had the most amazing time, but I'm really lucky in that to be the name that I've become means that when they're doing Annie, a big UK production in Scotland, they cast me as Miss Hannigan. So I don't need to do the whole UK tour, which I've done, don't want to do it again, or the Child Catcher and Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. I was one of the first women ever to play that part. That I can be in these lavish productions from London, but I don't need to leave.
You're probably best known for two very famous characters. There's Mary Doll and Ramsay Nesbitt and Christine in Two Doors Down. Let's talk about Mary Doll, first of all.
I've had my fill of you, Rob Nesbitt. I'm sick of you and your drunken carrying on of your low-life pals. You are totally irresponsible.
When you were offered that character, do you just think, what an opportunity? I mean, iconic Mary Doll.
She wasn't iconic when you start, you know, she was a sketch in Naked Video. And she was written in the script saying wife of guy with bandage. She didn't even have a name, and neither did he. And then about series 3 or 4, Colin Gilbert, he'll remember completely. He's got a brilliant memory for that. They put Gregor and I in a sketch together. And they became, when they did all the audience research, they were the characters that people adored, you know. There were lines in that, I do remember, where Gregor was diagnosed as being a psychopath, where we were doing a dance of joy. And the psychiatrist says, Mr. Nesbitt, this is not a compliment. He says, maybe know where you come from. But up our street is like a knighthood. So it was those sort of iconic things. And then we did Rab C. Nesbitt's Seasonal Great. It was a one-off. So you think that'd be great, but you don't, you know, television, you never know whether it's going to fly. And then the Seasonal Greet went so well that it was months later we did Series 1. And you make the role your own, you know, great writing from Ian Patterson and Watton McGregor, and all those characters evolved. So it wasn't like, you know, you're going to play Beatrice in Much Ado About Nothing, where you go, oh, which I've done, but where you go, oh, that's a great part. You don't know what the part's going to be because it's all new writing. And you don't know how it's going to evolve. You don't know whether Series 2 is going to be Mary's funeral. so you just go with it and grow into it. And the sort of fame came along with that, if you like, you know.
And then there was Christine, of course, the seemingly ever-present neighbour in Two Doors Down.
Hello, Colin.
There she is. How you doing, Christine?
Sorry to be slightly late, but I was all set to go out the door and then I needed the toilet.
It's always the way, isn't it?
It is. Anyway, 2 Buscapan and a fresh pair of pants, and here I am.
I think she's the funniest character in that show.
Oh,
it's been hugely successful.
Here, it's Two Doors Down. At that age, I was, 58, I think, when it came along. And that felt like, or maybe even younger, that felt like a complete gift. That felt like, and what was wonderful was both Gregor and Simon Carlyle had, Gregor Sharp, I should say, had grown up watching me. Because, of course, I don't feel that old, but so they were going, oh, we would like, so, and apparently in the pilot, Simon told me they had done an availability on me, and I was doing Panto in Aberdeen, and it was to play Beth, because my character didn't exist and I couldn't do it. And I remember my husband saying in the pilot, oh, that was good, Alec and Johnny, who are pals and all that are in it. He said it was really different and all that. And I watched it, and in true actor style was really raging, I wasn't in it. Oh, I could be good. And then about a year later or something, I read that they were going to do a series. And I spoke to my agent and said, do you know, if anything came up in that for an ep, I'd love to do it. And there's lots of other things that would be really, but I've never really wanted to do it. And it turns out that they had been looking to get me in it, in another role. And they came up with this character of Christine, with the wonderful Sharon Rooney as my daughter. And again, I thought it would be one ep. And I couldn't believe when I went in, and she again just grew and grew and grew.
And she's an absolutely brilliant character.
As you know, I play all the glamour roles. I like doing that.
I know. You must have looked at the wardrobe for that and thought, oh, and
no,
the hair.
The wig, the hair initially, and then the terrible wig. And Simon Carlyle was all over how she looked, the glasses, the tinted glasses, but also wonderful Carol in costume. She said she loved me because I would go in and go, too nice, too nice. Oh, that's Hackett, I'll wear that.
You got into it.
So the more Hackett, and it would be Simon going, can we please have her with tights and open-toe sandals, or could she please, and at a funeral episode that I would be wearing a veil, and you know. So just within the realms of not being too over the top, but those and being prepared to look terrible, I think, is a great asset for an actress.
Yeah. You've been given the freedom of the city of Glasgow. You're the queen of Panto. We haven't had time to talk about that, but you're so well known for your roles in Panto. You're in danger of becoming a national treasure. Oh. There's going to be a statue erected to you next in Motherwell, or
well,
right outside the King's Theatre?
Well,
perhaps?
actually, given that there are only 4 statues of women in the whole of Glasgow, maybe we're due, maybe not myself, but we're due a few statues. I was part of the campaign to get a statue for Mary Barber in Govan, and there are so few women recognised, and I've always felt that women are the backbone of it. But as usual, an award like this comes along, you immediately, as a woman, you go, I don't deserve this, there's so many other people deserve it more than me. And then I thought, it would be awful to turn it down, given that there hasn't been a woman since 1969. But then I thought, I'm beholden to accept this on behalf of all the women that should have got it. And hopefully they'll be with me at the big ceremony, because I'm standing on the shoulders of giants.
Yeah. Well, congratulations on that. Thank you for joining us.
Pleasure.
I'm going to start a petition for the statue.
No, don't.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.